everyone, welcome to part 6 of my series critiquing GamingMagic13's Danganronpa 3 series titled Danganronpa 3 at the End of My Sanity. As I have said, I'm not covering everything because I can only inhale so much garbage before I have a dire need to go outside. If I mess up a few things here, then it was purely accidental, and I'll fix it if I find it necessary. Obvious spoilers ahead. There's a bit of a journey within his community tab that I just found from when he was making these videos and going through this series about how he basically overworked himself to do this, which probably contributes significantly to why these videos are as bad as they are. I can sympathize with him and his situation here, but he also says that he's still proud of this series a year later, so while I think that this is very important context to have and something to keep in mind going through his videos, I don't think I will change anything about the way I'm creating my own videos. Now, I'll begin with episode 6.
So it is revealed that Yasuhiro is somehow still not dead. After everything we've seen him endure, after having a Gatling gun unloaded into him, and being shot at by missiles, he's still breathing. No, I don't know how that's possible.
I think this guy is way too mad about Yasuhiro in this series. Is it realistic? No, but I think you're probably one of the very few people who actually care about realism in anime, or realism in cartoons in general. They include these scenes here to avoid the question of where Yasuhiro is, because unlike everyone else, it's not as if he would be doing anything useful since, he's an idiot. And having a character somehow manage to survive being blown up is, very common. It's a slapstick gag. Tom and Jerry is easily the best Western example of this. People getting hurt is very funny, I guess, so shows include it for a quick laugh, and then they shake their heads and move on. There's no physical result of it because this isn't a kid's show and he isn't hurt for anything that matters within the plot, so it just doesn't matter. Basically, it's for comedy.
To use his fortune-telling skills to predict the outcome of the killing game. Yeah, so remember at the end of the first game when his whole thing was that he was starting to move past relying on his fortune-telling? Did you feel proud of him for overcoming that? Did you connect with his character journey in some way? Yeah, well, fuck you for liking this character. He's reverted back to relying on his predictions for literally everything. Awesome. Glad to see you.
Relying on his predictions for literally everything? This is a singular scene that lasts about 30 seconds. He directly says in the epilogue of Trigger Happy Havoc that if any of Class 78 wanted their fortunes told, then he would tell them. As for the line about using gut feeling instead of fortune-telling, I mean, he's literally doing that anyway. Look at the way he describes his fortune-telling in his free time events. Makoto even points out that he's just using his intuition, and Yasuhiro did not have a character journey. Very few people, if any, like him because they can identify with his character arc, because it literally does not exist. He spends the entire series doing absolutely nothing but being a complete idiot. Yasuhiro is a gag character and survives because he is funny, and the game needs someone to loosen up the environment in the later half. Not all characters have to have a serious role. And did you dig something up and cherry pick lines on purpose to try and call anything you can a retcon? How do you manage to remember this line in the 6th trial but not remember the line at the end of the game? I'll grant you not playing the free time events because Yasuhiros are definitely something to go through. Even ignoring it, that it's pretty clear that Yasuhiro knows very little about real fortune telling given the way that he gets tricked by the fake crystal ball and is also a complete idiot, but still, you have to be doing this on purpose. You aren't just disliking the show because there's a genuine reason to dislike it. You're disliking it because you're a chronic hater or whatever. See, now I don't particularly care if you dislike something just because. That would be completely fine, but that's not your point here. You are instead trying to justify your reasons behind disliking the series despite said reasons not existing, and in doing so, you spread misinformation and leave your sheep followers to reiterate your nonsensical points. Character assassination? Oh please, none of you have any clue what that term means, so please just stop using it. Either this is a purposeful misinterpretation, or you are really this stupid to genuinely believe the stuff that you say, and I'm not really sure which is worse.
Ruined by the Steel Samurai stabbing Athena's corpse? Why? Why did you do that? I mean, I know why the writers made him do this because this fucking sword stab will define the finale.
Does it matter? Not every single scene has to be thought out with perfect logic because that's not and never has been how humans operate within emotional situations. I'll talk more about this later, but for this scene in particular, this possibly represents Munakata letting Yukizome go, could be for his own personal closure. She's dead and she always will be dead. He failed to bring Yukizome with him to his ideal world without despair or whatever, and he's grieving that. He's grieving the death of someone he was very close to for years. Does everything really have to make this much sense? Sure, it ends up being convenient later, but so, that doesn't matter.
Except from the slumber, and Kyoko immediately goes back to playing Blue's Clues by examining the second body. 2 seconds later, she already has all the information she could ever possibly need about the crime scene and is ready to go searching for the third and final clue. Look, I know Kyoko is the ultimate detective and is by far the smartest character in this entire series, but she literally just looked at the damn body. She gave it a passing glance. There's absolutely no way she could have possibly obtained everything she needs to know with just a cursory look.
Firstly, Kyoko is anime bullshit smart, meaning that her intelligence is way above human possibilities. Compare it to Light Yagami or something. Secondly, Kyoko doesn't exactly say that she's done here. She says that she needs to go look for another victim. Kyoko Kyoko writes in her notebook about the exact same patterns that you have been pointing out over and over again and complaining about how nobody has been able to get to them. What's the problem? We're catching up to exactly where you want us to. Why are you still mad? She probably notices some similarities between the way that Yukizome died to the way that Goju died and wants to check the third body so she can verify with more evidence. She doesn't do a full-scale body analysis because that's not necessary. The victim's cause of death is clear and there wouldn't be any need to trick the victim or do anything underhanded of the sort because they were supposed to have been knocked out. Nobody has any alibis, so it could literally be anybody, so there would be no need to try and disguise something. Anything to hide, the girl would just take for themselves. Digging through these bodies like she does in the games or in a usual crime scene would be a waste of time. And a lot of what Kyoko does doesn't make sense in the moment. You'll get the payoff later. I don't think I will ever be able to emphasize enough how much of a self-report a lot of these guys' points are. Anytime I ever need any proof that he did not come to his conclusions right off the bat like he says he does and is either straight up lying or googling the answers prior to watching, he gives it to me on a silver platter. I almost feel a bit spoiled with just how easy this is.
The next words out of his mouth are,
"Don't listen to me, I'm kidding. Humble advice from a former teacher? It'd do you some good to break out of that logical mindset now and again."
"Oh my god! Good lord almighty, just kill me now, Jesus Christ." Okay, so aside from the inherent contradiction of saying a thing and then immediately saying, "Don't listen to the very thing I just said," making you wonder why he bothered opening his mouth in the first place, the writers will not fucking give it up! Ever since the first game, they have been so goddamn desperate to shield themselves from criticism that they just keep telling you, logic doesn't matter, turn your brain off! Even though the entire premise behind Danganronpa's gameplay is using your brain to think logically.
Do you not laugh? Do you not joke around every now and again? Kizakura says he's just kidding. Lighten up a little. It's not that big of a deal. You'll be fine. As for the emotional and logical part, I've said this already, but I'll say it again. That's the point. Firstly, you will never get to the bottom of why people do the things they do if you are only thinking logically, because that's not how most people operate, especially within extreme circumstances like a murder-death game, as we kind of see with Asahina in the first game when she tries to get everyone, including herself, killed. Okay, Byakuya Togami, it's quite funny how you hate him so much when you act so much like him. This is a point in the 4th chapter of the first game about acknowledging others' emotions despite it logically not making much sense. Secondly, just because a series first establishes one way to do things within the confines of a specific location doesn't make it bad when that one way is suddenly not the exact right way anymore. We're in a different area, a completely different circumstance, faced with different people who have been through different things.
Plug Monica into the monitor above them and gain access to the surveillance camera system? You mean you could have been doing this the entire time? Why wasn't this the first?
Oh jeez, sorry, the super high school level boxer and the super high school level animator don't know how to navigate advanced technology like that. Does real Gekugahara have this kind of tech ability? Her contributions to the New World program likely regarded her super high school level therapist abilities. The rest was probably dealt with partly by Chihiro, the super high school level programmer, and Matsuda, the super high school level neurologist. Her having a monitor with her at all times does not mean that she is able to get into systems like this. We know that Monica would know how to do this, but they're under the impression that that's Gekugahara. She's also hanging out with Makoto and Asahina, who probably don't know her or her abilities as well as some of the other Future Foundation members. Monica might not have offered to do this before because she's Monica and she's not necessarily their ally.
And more importantly, if you can access the surveillance cameras, then why don't you just check the fucking security footage? Check the tape, see who the attacker is! What in the holiest of fucks are you doing? Thankfully,
because that is Monica, not Gekugahara. Can Monica even find the tapes? Would she be willing to give them up if she could? Highly unlikely.
You can just contact somebody outside the building to break down the walls for you. No, you do not fucking mishear me. Let me say that again. The new plan is to go to the monitoring room, again, and establish contact with people outside the building and tell them to come bust them out of the killing game. So, if that's a thing you can do, then I have to ask, why the fuck didn't you do that earlier?
Because that is Monica, not Gekugahara. She's basically just here to observe Makoto, not necessarily participate since she can't really get brainwashed, so she doesn't do anything in the beginning. She says in episode 7 that she wants to see Makoto up close, so why would she want to bust him out like that in the beginning before she even gets a chance to?
Oh wait, you did try that, and it didn't fucking work! But now all of a sudden you are fully capable of making contact outside the walls? Why do you keep inventing new things you can do whenever the show runs out of places to go?
Because that is Monica, who is a technology genius. Clearly, the outside communication wasn't destroyed enough if she's still able to control Gekugahara from Toa City. It's also possible that Monica is the one contacting Future Foundation herself from Toa City in a way that they can't detect exactly where the call is from, but the footage is shown and given at Robot Gekugahara. Monica can account for stuff like an internet outage or whatever.
Oh no! God damn it, fuck off, you smug prick. This show is bad enough as it is. You don't need your smug ass trolling to make things even worse.
So, in episode 1, you were mad that the survivors weren't with Makoto in the killing game, and You also said that you would rather see the survivors of the first game story concluded than the future Foundation members, and now you're mad again that another one of those survivors is making an appearance? I get it now. You aren't necessarily mad about the treatment of survivors of Class 78 at all. You're mad about the writing not going exactly the way that you personally wanted to and prioritizing your own favorite characters. Do you think it would be good writing to completely abandon one of the people who went with Makoto into the Neo World program after coming out of that thing? To put him through all that development and then pretend that he doesn't exist? I don't care that you don't like him. That's just too bad. You're going to see his involvement here whether you like it or not, and he doesn't even appear all that much. He does barely anything without Danganronpa 3. I think you got pretty lucky here, so why bother to complain?
Turns out that the Steel Samurai sent an army to Jabberwock Island to murder the cast in the second game. And stop fucking what? You did what? How do you... Okay, look, we know they can contact the outside world for some fucking reason, but we also know that you need to be in the monitoring room to do so. So when did the Steel Samurai call in the boat squad? Was it when he was holding Makoto hostage? Because we sure as hell never saw that happen. And more importantly, this means he had the chance to call for help to come rescue them, and instead of doing exactly that, he called for a strike team to go to Jabberwock Island?
You know exactly when Munakata sent people to Jabberwock Island? You know for sure that he didn't do that prior to the events of the anime? Would you mind directing me exactly what line of dialogue here led you to believe this? Byakuya doesn't say something earlier because he thinks that Makoto is on trial. You think the only events that can happen in the world are events that are directly shown on screen?
This line genuinely caught me off guard when I heard it for the first time. Byakuya is actually becoming a decent person? He's come to believe in the capabilities of his friends, and make decisions with the well-being of everyone in mind as opposed to strictly personal gain. It is a far cry from his condescending attitude throughout the first and even the second game, and it was honestly—
Well, no, it really wasn't. I'll give you at least the beginning of the first game, but not the second game, especially the epilogue. There's also the epilogue of Ultra Despair Girls, which takes place before the events of the second game. Yes, he's very forceful about the shutdown within Trial 6 of Goodbye Despair, and more willing to trick them into agreeing compared to Makoto who wants them to agree naturally, but I'll be honest, that's what the mass majority of people would do in his situation. What if it doesn't work and they refuse to agree? The other options are to be stuck in the New World program forever or have the world taken over by AI Junko. To him, both of these options are significantly worse than the shutdown, with the alive students just reverting back to ultimate despair, even if that's not a good thing either. So of course he's not going to be nice about it. My point is that I don't think it's entirely fair to judge him based on that trial alone. Pay attention to the way that he talks to Makoto and Kyoko in the epilogue. That's much more similar to the way he talks to Makoto here in DR3 and in the Ultra Despair Girls epilogue. And the fact that he was willing to even go into the Neo World program should tell you enough. This is not necessarily his development. That happened right after Chapter 4 of the first game. This is the payoff.
Except for one small problem. We find out seconds later that Byakuya was fully aware of the fact that Gecko was actually Monica all along, and he doesn't tell Makoto this fact? Why the fuck would you not let them know that they're working with an imposter? Well, as it turns out, Byakuya has a super great explanation for this.
Troubling, yes, but we dare not expose her while she's so close to them. Who knows what she might do?
What do you mean? This robot isn't an animatronic capable of walking around and attacking people. It's just a mannequin in a chair. So how about you just smash the fucking iPad and flip over the wheelchair so Monica can't control it anymore? She can't do anything if she can't connect to her stupid chair. What do you mean there's no telling what she'd do? Makoto and Hina can just overpower her. Why would you not tell them they're working with an imposter?
Were the Monokumas and the robots in Ultra Despair Girls not enough to show you the bare minimum of what Monica is capable of developing? It is not just a mannequin in a chair. The chair has a ton of different weapons in it and is able to account for getting punched and destroyed within Monica's control. It is fully possible that fake Gecko Gahara is the mastermind, but if Makoto and Asahina are currently hanging out with her, then it's likely that she hasn't actually done anything really dangerous. I mean, she's currently helping them because she let them contact the rest of Future Foundation to let them know what was going on. Maybe they could overpower her, but Byakuya nor anybody else is able to know for certain because they don't know all the capabilities of the robot, and it's best not to take serious risks like that while they're within a confined area without the ability to escape. For right now, she doesn't seem to be all that dangerous. They'll deal with it when Byakuya gets there, which wasn't intended to take all that long.
Only one person has the resources to orchestrate this. Monica Toa.
What resources? How could she have possibly obtained the resources she needed to create this robot and infiltrate this building when she's supposed to be on the run and her factory's been destroyed?
That's not a factory, that's an airship. That's the Excalibur. Clearly, such an advanced factory wouldn't be able to fit in that thing. The Toa factory is underground. Never mind not knowing what factories typically look like. How did you play Ultra Despair Girls and make a mistake like this? Chapter 4 is set in the factory. Chapter 5, the last chapter, is set in Toa Hills going up to that Excalibur.
This shopper, oh my god, stop that right now. What are you doing? What the fuck is wrong with you people? Will you let up already? Why are you fuckers so goddamn obsessed with placing the camera in positions that show this shit off? What is the point? What are you—
It's Called fan service, you're watching Japanese media. Find me a singular Japanese show that does not have an inappropriate shot relatively similar to the ones shown within this series. Is this a good thing? No, these scenes are objectively disgusting, but is it very normal within anime? Yeah. Mind you, this is the same series where each character gets you their underwear after you complete their school mode or something. It's gross and always will be, but it's not something worth complaining about because you'll just end up wasting your time. And this ends Feature Arc Episode 6. I'd imagine that I haven't come across as particularly nice here or within any earlier episode. Technically speaking, I guess it's not on purpose, and by that I mean is that I'm intending to respond to his points with a relatively similar, albeit significantly toned down behavior to his. Subconsciously, not exactly, because I'm writing a script, but in a way, kind of like how you would respond to a regular argument. And I'm calling him stupid and miserable because he's acting stupid and miserable. I know this feels a bit dumb for me to say because this is over the hate on a Danganronpa anime, but if you want to be treated with proper respect, then you need to do something that indicates you deserve it. Doing such things as insulting people who disagree with you over such little things after presenting your horrible media literacy on full blast are not helping. I decided to look up Danganronpa on his Twitter account just to see what I could find, and he posted some replies he made to some accounts on YouTube with literally 0 likes posted minutes before. Reply to people all you want, I guess, but why are you posting them on Twitter? For validation? Nobody cares! Somebody else also called his figuring out plot twists fake, and he just responded with a dumb rebuttal of, I don't lie to my audience, the plot twists were just obvious. Real believable, dude. And don't forget to call everyone else stupid while you're at it. I'll reiterate myself here and say that coming to the conclusions that he apparently does on the first playthrough isn't all that impossible, but paired with the nonsense that he manages to spew in this series makes it look pretty fishy. If he was able to keep the same intelligence, then maybe I'd believe him. But he isn't. He also likes to act as if he is being chained down to a chair and forced to play Danganronpa as if he doesn't have the ability to just turn off the controller and go outside. He also apparently made fun of someone for liking Toy Story 4, which is the movie that he made a 6-hour video nitpicking. I don't have any proof of this, but I've heard it plenty of times in different areas while looking up his name, and given the stuff I've seen so far, it's highly likely that there's at least some validity to this claim. And he got mad at his viewers and raged because he sucks at Sonic, and the clips are honestly super funny to me. I won't show them here, but if you're interested, then they're on Twitter. As for Despair Arc, I have no hopes about the later part of this series when everything really starts kicking in, so I think I'll take at least some of this stuff while I still can.
You have been born anew, a phoenix from the ashes.
Again with this shit. Fuck off. At least pretend to be subtle about it.
Rise like a phoenix from the ashes is a phrase. It has nothing to do with Phoenix Wright from Ace Attorney. You know that a phoenix is a bird, right? From Greek mythology, which predates Ace Attorney by, just a few years. Anyway, the phoenix is a bird that is said to die, typically by burning, and is born again from those ashes. Izuru Kamakura is, in a way, rising from the ashes of Hajime Hinata. Phoenix Wright is also not Phoenix Wright in Japan, but that doesn't matter. This line of dialogue literally doesn't happen in the original Japanese version, and the dub writers are not the show writers, they're just localizing the content for a Western audience.
Did you play hot potato with the script that I just happened to land in the lap of the one dude with writing chops for all the Chiaki scenes?
Nope, you're just a biased Chiaki fan.
No, Buki, this is called two people talking to each other as classmates, or perhaps even, dare I say it, as friends. I do not get this plotline. They did this exact same thing.
Who cares? Really, Ibuki just says that it's weird that they seem so close. Is Fuyuhiko this close with anybody else in this class? Probably not. He calls her Pekko in the Japanese version in contrast to Nanami or Komaeda in the same scene, which means something in Japan.
Using a trustee's computer with the use of a keycard that is rendered useless at 6 a.m. for some reason. No, I don't know why that's the case. Is the card gonna self-destruct at 6 a.m. or something? Also, question, did you forge this card or did you steal it from someone? I'm assuming it's not the latter given we'll be finding out in a few minutes, but if it's the former, then why does a keycard you created have an expiration date?
It's probably because it might be purposely designed like that by Hope's Peak. Perhaps since Sakakura is a staff member but isn't one of those involved with the Kamakura project at all, he managed to get the staff to allow him to have a card to do something in particular or whatever, but they were only willing to let him have a temporary card because, as Sakakura says, they've made security tighter because of the disappearance of one of the trustees. No, it is not going to self-destruct. It's a key card. It'll just stop working. Yeah, this explanation isn't technically canon because it isn't explicitly spelled out word for word with color coding or something, because that's apparently the only way that anything can count as canon to you, but it's implied in a way. There's a certain level of media where you're expected to be able to think critically and conclude things on your own based on general logic. Maybe you just aren't ready for that level yet.
angrily replies saying that he'd happily die for her if it came down to it, and then follows it up with saying that he's always felt like a third wheel around her and the Steel Samurai once she's out of earshot. Which, aside from the fact that this third wheel storyline is pulled straight out of thin fucking air because the writers are about to run out of plot again, it's extremely confusing that he specifically says it's her who he'd be willing to sacrifice himself for, considering what we learn later. But remember, consistency isn't something these writers are particularly...
How do you... What even... Just... Wow! This is crazy! I'm not even sure what to say here. Okay, so first of all, this is actually hinted at in episode 3 of Despair when Yukizome asks if Sakakura is trying to steal Munakata away from her. There are some slight but not direct things that can be looked at in hindsight about Sakakura's feelings toward Munakata at this point in future arc, like how he's so willing to do everything Munakata is doing and such, but nothing smoking gun because we aren't following Sakakura all that much, but his crush is clearly there and was always intended to be there from the beginning. This scene here does not create an inconsistency. This is done like this on purpose. He's saying Yukizome, but he's meaning Munakata. Yukizome says that she'll do anything for Munakata, and Sakakura responds by saying that he'll do anything for her too. Doesn't that feel a little odd? Look at the dialogue again. Maybe I'm reading way too much into this, and it's not something that you might realize unless you have the other context, but the way he basically says that he'd do anything for Yukizome too, despite nobody saying that they'd do anything for Yukizome, is what I'm getting at. It's the use of the word too that I'm trying to point out. She mentioned that she'd do anything for Munakata, and he said that he'd do anything for you too. Piece it together like that, and it sounds more like he's referring to Munakata. But whether you're buying what I'm selling here with these dialogue lines doesn't particularly matter because he's very much not talking about Yukizome. Not every line of dialogue is intended to be taken literally. Characters lie. Characters lie to other people, to themselves, to the audience, to anybody, just like real people do, especially regarding something as serious as gay relationships in a country like Japan where that stuff is heavily frowned upon. Media literacy really is just dead, isn't it?
And wait, what? His box of sodas from the first episode? You kept that? You held onto a box of sodas that have definitely expired by now just to remind you that he exists? Have you not drank them by now?
Well, it's Nagito's stuff, not theirs. As for the expiration date of the soda, it's soda. It's a carbonated drink. Carbonated drinks don't expire in the same sense that milk or cheese does. After some time, they'll lose their carbonation and flavor, but they're still perfectly safe to drink. Expiry dates for these things as printed aren't the usual expiry dates, they're best buy dates. Eat or drink this before the date to have it in the best condition possible, but quality is not guaranteed after the fact.
She needs to infiltrate and does so effortlessly, but then she...
Housekeeping? Is anybody here?
What are you doing, you absolute cheesecake? This is a stealth mission. Your goal should be to make as little noise as possible. Why are you actively telegraphing your presence to anyone that might have been in this room?
If there is actually somebody in that room, then they're going to notice her regardless of how sneaky she is. Better to have that person think that she's not actually doing anything that she's not supposed to be and that she's there because she's permitted to be in there. She's not a spy, she's a housekeeper. Stealth isn't in her skill set.
He approaches the computer and is able to log in because the password is written on a sticky note taped to the side of the monitor. Oh my god, stop it. This isn't even just you guys anymore. This is just everyone around the world. People, stop doing this. Nobody fucking does this.
Yes, they do. Plenty of people do this, especially older people. I literally don't know what to tell you. Writing down your passwords on paper is heavily encouraged to prevent forgetting it, and people translate that to write it down on a sticky note and stick it onto the computer because it's easy and convenient. Yes, it's bad security, but most people, even businesses, don't care enough about that if there's never been an issue before. The computer is also locked into a building where only those who have access to the keycard would be able to get to, so any sort of issue like a break-in is even less likely. Potentially, the password is there because multiple people need to have access to that computer and to prevent an employee from having to hunt someone else down because they forgot what the password was.
Steve, tied up in a chair, with his face propped up into one of those take-a-photo cardboard cutouts, dressed in a bunny rabbit costume, with his eye taped open with band-aids. Junko Enoshima is standing a few inches away cooking up a plate of curry, which we can assume to be his favorite food since that was also the password to his computer, and then holds the plate in front of his face as she fucking scoops his eye out with a spoon. What the actual fuck is this shit? What torture porn fetishist wrote this script?
You know this anime is expanding on the events established by the murder-death games, right? With all those bloody messes on the screen? Like Nagito's or Sayaka's death, or whoever else's? It's unsettling, sure, but like, so is everything else. The only difference here is that he's alive. This doesn't even qualify as torture porn. It's just torture. You don't even see the torture take place. You just know how she was able to get his eye. Were you expecting Junko to kindly ask the trustee? Did you not want it shown on the screen at all? That would be quite interesting because you seem to be unable to accept that events that aren't directly shown are still able to happen in a movie or series.
Falsely manipulate a crime scene to make a murder look like a suicide. Multiple times. That is quite a few steps away from being grunt work. Which, by the way, even if you were successful in doing that, do you really expect me to believe that anybody with any level of cognitive thought would genuinely believe that this massive group of people killed themselves all at the same time, despite the fact that the wounds clearly indicate their deaths as murder?
No, and that's why this isn't in the Japanese version. Junko tells Mukuro to clean them up later and make people think that they went missing. The dub is not taking itself seriously, kind of like a lot of anime dubs. You want to complain? Then go watch the sub.
Stupid? Ugly? That's me in a nutshell.
I can't properly test the middle one since we haven't actually seen her make any decisions for herself, but, are your eyes functioning properly?
Ever heard of this thing called emotional abuse? So, yeah, I think I'm done here. Not because there isn't anything else for me to talk about, but because I have limits, and it's just the exact same thing over and over again. Absolutely no media literacy in applying real-world logistics to a fictional world where almost nothing has ever made sense. Izuru Kamakura is not real. Izuru Kamakura is the embodiment of all talents that are known to the Hope's Peak staff. Izuru Kamakura does not make sense in the real world, and therefore the things he does aren't going to make any sense either. I didn't particularly care enough about anything else. I might be able to grant the Ryota and Junko scene, but that's not properly covered until the next episode, so I'll wait until then. See you next time!